Hello, Idiots on Parade, the Too Ugly for TV podcast. We mock the news so you don't have to. I am Nathan Timmel, stand-up comedian I'm in Madison, Wisconsin. I'm at my mom's house, but generally
nice.
Iowa City. That's why everything looks different. I didn't feel like bringing my big microphone, so I just brought the ear pods. And with me, as always, is Jake Vevra, stand-up comedian in New York City. Hello, Jake.
How's it going?
All is well here. This is maybe only amusing to me, but I'll say it anyway. I'm at my mom's. My mom is older, because that's what happens. You have kids and then you grow old, and I'm older. But I needed to plug my computer in for this podcast, and she has the biggest power strip I have ever seen, but it's a 1970s power strip. It's not like a power strip that's so big and it has 4 outlets, but it's enormous and it's metal. And on the one hand, I think it's awesome that it's so old and it still works. But on the other hand, I think it's just hilarious that back in the day, it was like, ooh, you used to have 2 outlets. Now you have 4 by only adding something that's 2 feet long and weighs 10 pounds in a solid metal. Like it lasts, but it's just.
And you know what you're plugging into that? You know what you're plugging into that thing? A TV that is half the size of the living room. And should it fall on you, you will be paralyzed. If it hits you at the right angle, you will literally be paralyzed from your TV.
Well, those you couldn't. They couldn't fall on you because they only stood. You couldn't. They weren't like today where they're on wall mounted. I mean,
that's right. You would need to drop
floor.
it on. It would be like dropping a piano on somebody. I mean, There would have to be maintenance crews. There would have to be equipment involved.
Yes, it's this big old school. I love the fact that it's metal because everything today is cheap plastic and it's not made to last. This is, I could use this as a weapon.
That's right.
I could take this in my hand and clock someone with this.
Now everything is a cheap plastic piece of shit that's made God knows where. This was good, heavy metal. American-made steel
Pittsburgh
charger strips. That's right. Back when they were making the power strips in Pittsburgh, you could pass them down to your grandkids. Now they would take up, like I said, half the living room. You had the TV taking up half the living room. Other half of the TV was the power strip with 4 plugs. But the thing would last forever.
I kind of want to steal it and see what I can get for it on eBay. Collector's item. Who wants a old school power strip classic model?
Some hipster in fucking Williamsburg is gonna pay you $500 for it.
All right, Jake. He's
plugging espresso machines that can read your irises and tell what kind of cup you're in the mood for.
Right. You can tell not just your iris, but your iris and your aura. What kind of cup, what will match your mood and what will improve, what will enhance your current aura read?
You're a Sagittarius, almond milk. There you go. That's what's getting plugged into that old school power strip. It's crazy, futuristic Tim Cook espresso machines.
Tim Apple.
That's right.
Tim Apple, not Tim Cook. We call him Tim. He's been rebranded by Trump years ago. Tim Apple.
Tim Appleseed.
All right, Jake. Let's jump right in. I got to admit, I saw the hullabaloo and recognized it, and I'm like, okay, let's see how this is being taken out of context because it has to be out of context. Surely no one is this stupid. I see the Megyn Kelly going viral. And it says, quote, I know someone very close to this case. Jeffrey Epstein, in this person's view, was not a pedophile. He was into the barely legal type, like he liked 15-year-old girls. He wasn't into 8-year-olds. There's a difference between a 15 and a 5-year-old. And I'm like, okay, that quote is her talking about what this other person said. Surely when you watch the video, her sentence will be, I can't believe that guy said that. It's still gross. The idea that a 40-year-old man having sex with him. Nope, she's all in. She doubles down on the idea that there is a difference between an 8-year-old and a 15-year-old and a pedophile and someone that's into barely. Like, she keeps going. I was fully ready to give her credit for saying, I can't believe this person is trying to differentiate between a child and a tween child. And no, she is all in on the defending pedophilia. She is all, and we have talked about this. The idea that places like Tennessee are trying to lower the age of consent for religious reasons so adults can marry kids. It's insane. But yeah, I was fully ready to give her the benefit of the doubt, but she is all in on the 15-year-old with a 40-year-old dude is A-okay in her mind. I was stunned.
She's very much part of the old guard media that will turn a blind eye to a lot of things. 15's legal at Fox News, and that's where she came from.
Well, and it might be. And here's the deal: if you want to couch it,
she came up in the Roger Ailes years, and back then it was 15. All right,
yes,
it's 15.
If she was like, there is a difference.
15 is the new 18, is what Roger used to say behind closed doors. And by God, she's still parroting it.
She is still parroting it. But if you're like the movie you always quote with Matthew McConaughey, was that? Yeah, where the witness is like, where they try and get one of the witnesses as being a pedophile. Like, isn't it true you dated you were arrested for statutory because you had sex with a 16-year-old? And then it goes on, it's like, he was 18 at the time and he married that woman. It's like, there's a difference between a 16-year-old and an 18-year-old or a 15-year-old.
Yeah, you get the age buffer, if you went to the same high school, what are we talking about here?
But if we're talking about a 40-year-old dude.
We're not the same high school in any different years. I mean, you know what I mean? Graduating class, whatever.
And you're talking 15 because it's, quote, legal. I mean, my God, Snorky says is that a philia? Is that?
Yeah, that's the thing. See, I think she was just kind of being dumb in how she said it. I think that's kind of what she was saying is they like, I don't know if it's like legal terminology or psychological terminology or whatever, but there is technically a different, it's like a pedo.
Snorky has it right here. Read Snorky.
Yeah. They have it broken down by ages to where it's like, oh, this is called a something ophelia at like 12 or what. Like, I don't know I don't know what Sigmund Freud would call each age bracket. I know you're a chomo. Either way, in the joint, you get shanked, whatever classification of philia it is. There's still a sharpened toothbrush in the rib cage if you're not in protective custody.
And deservedly so. And as we talked about a couple of weeks back, worldwide, when that British guy got stabbed for being into underage kids and hurting kids, and as like you think of the British prison system and as being above America but below like above That's America true. And America's above Mexico, but they still took him out. It's still
stabbed their chomos. Yeah, they probably have some crazy cogni slang. He's a fucking Willy Wonka. Oh, I get the Willy Wonka. Shot the Chevy Maru in his rib cage. Like they got different terms for it, but I can't understand what's being said. But I get it if I see what's happening.
But so to go what you just said a second ago, yes, I agree. She was trying to, but when you are trying to make that difference, when you are going on your podcast or your news or whatever she does now. And saying, well, there's a difference between a pedo and a philia, whatever. You say, and you know what? They're both gross and wrong. An adult should not be into the, oh, she's 22, barely legal, like 18, but looks 13. Like there's something creepy and wrong and messed up there too. When you're doing the barely legal because you like the idea that she's 18, but looks 14, like it's all wrong. I didn't hear any condemnation for her. And I will repeat this again. I fully expected it to be taken out of context and for her to keep going and saying, and that's wrong. But she just continued, like they're literally trying to find an end around. Yeah. for wanting to diddle kids. It's mind boggling.
Yeah, no, I agree with both Megyn Kelly and R. Kelly. Age is just a number. Release R. Release R is what she continues saying. And she's like, Kelly's got to unite. All right. 15 is just a number. Release R. M. Kelly stands beside R. Kelly, and I stand beside them both, I say.
You're making me think of South Park. Free hat, free hat, free hat. Just a free association with they were trying to.
Look, man, that's her. She's trying to get cousin R out of jail. Like they're married through They're related through marriage, obviously, but the Kellys stand together in this. 15.
Do you think she comes out with a condemnation after this has blown up, or do you think she doubles down?
I think she doubles down. And it's like, listen, the founding fathers didn't say nothing about an age of consent. They didn't put that in their little paper. Who gives a shit? I think she goes wild. I think she goes hog wild.
All right.
The Bible says 12. I think she goes nuts.
Well, you talk about doubling down.
But I will say, I do like that she goes, well, I just heard that he liked her he liked the barely legal, and he thinks she's going to go 18. And then she goes 15. And it's like, bro, that wasn't even 17. That's wild. 15. No, barely legal. See, because my dad had those magazines. I remember those magazines. I used to steal from his sock drawer when I was like 7. Barely legal was like 18, 19. Now, he had other magazines with 15 in it. That magazine was called Totally Not Legal. That magazine was called You Didn't Get This From Me If You Get Raided by the Feds. That was the name of that one. It was, you had to go to weird spots to get them, for sure. I couldn't just get that one from the old porn superstore off the side of the interstate unless you knew the code word. You know, the code word was Megyn Kelly. If you go to the desk, if you go to the counter at the porn store and you say, I'm here for the Megyn Kelly, they pull a little thing that says like totally legal porn, and then the wall spins around and you're in Megyn Kelly land.
I barely remember the barely legal, but my memory of it was what I already said. It was that, yeah, technically they're 18, but they look like they're younger, and that gets your weird, sick fetish you should be put in jail rocks off. I thought that was
I didn't like the name of it. It just feels so gross. Even at 7, I'm like, I know they're older than me, but this still feels fucking wrong somehow.
Yeah, I mean,
the fact that it's like you can just be like, hey, man, how about we call the magazine Young Hot Women? You know, they're 18. If they kill somebody in a drinking and driving accident tonight, they're very much going to they're not going to barely legal jail. No, they're going to adult jail. So how about just young, hot, fully developed women? We'll name the magazine something like that, not barely legal. It's like, dude, you might as well call it Barely Not a Pedophile. Like that's what you're telling. Yeah. You might as well call it Almost Pedophile. It's a synonym for the name of this magazine. I don't feel clean whack into this. Stop it.
Although I'm trying to, this isn't fully formed, so stay with me.
And they were 18, 19, or as Megyn Kelly would call them, old as fuck. Too old for Roger Ailes. I'll tell you that right now.
When I was 18, I probably should have been looking at Barely Legal because it would have been more realistic for me, because I was looking at Playboy and I was seeing airbrushed heaven. So when I started seeing real nudity, I'm like, oh, I should have been looking at like Hustler or something that had, Penthouse still airbrushed. Like Hustler, I could have seen like, oh, that's called cottage cheese. Those are stretch marks. It would have been more realistic.
No, but Barely Legal wouldn't even get that. You got to go for the dirtier ones. You got to go for Hawk, the magazine Hawk. I'm telling you, they didn't even have makeup on it, Hawk. These women, they just got them right from the truck stop into the photo shoot. It was wild.
Well, like I said, because Playboy, it raised my expectations to unbelievable levels, unachievable levels that I didn't realize it was all fake because I was a teenager and I was stupid. So I was still happy to be seeing women naked when I finally did. But I also was like, oh, wait a second. This is, and then you learn about airbrushing because that was before CGI or AI, but it was, you still, Playboy set the bar way too high. I should have downgraded. But even at 18, at Barely Legal still, like you said, the title felt creepy to me. I could look at them and go, oh, okay, they're 18, but I never, I was never a subscriber. I was never on board.
I felt weird about it when I was in grade school stealing these things, even though these women were half my age or twice my age.
What does it say about your dad that he was into it?
Oh, hey, but that was, dude, it was a popular magazine. It was, you know what I mean? It was quality. They had, they would do the airbrushing and they would do all of that. I'll stand behind Barely Legal. It's just a fucked up title.
Rocky says, I have heard that shaved is illegal in Australia. We'd have to Google that. I don't know. I do know that whenever you watch Japanese, it's all
that pixelated. Woman shaved a wallaby. Get her in jail. It's illegal. It's not a vagina. This is a vagina.
I do know that, like I just said, like in Asian, I remember the first time I saw something, and I was like, wait, why is it all pixelated? You could show everything but the genitals, which I thought was odd.
It would be one thing if they would pixelate the porn, but then the porn itself was like Playboy or maybe Hustler. But there's like crazy tentacle shit going on. It's like, wait a minute. No. The pussy's not the weird thing. What about that octopus thing that's going in there? That's what you gotta, that's what's scarring me for life. What the hell?
Exactly. I do remember the first time I saw non-pixelated Asian, I'm like, ooh, it felt exciting to see something that wasn't pixelated that played to the Asian kink or fetish that the white male has in general.
Well, you know what they call it, unpixelated porn in Japan. It's called barely legal. That's right.
Yeah. Well, we're talking. Paul just got here. We're talking about Megyn Kelly defending Trump's not pedophilia, but whatever the term is that Snorky knew what the term was.
Shabalama ding dong aphilia.
Oh, here we go. I remember Club. Magazine too. But God, there used to be so many titles. There used to be so many titles, and they were all profitable, and they all went bye. All went the way of the dodo.
Here's the thing. I will still see the occasional bodega out here or gas station on the road that will have porn mags in it. And if I ever see somebody looking through them, I will pull out my phone, put on Pornhub and just watch them go, oh my God, what is that magical device? I've been frozen in carbonite since 1997. And I'll be like, it's a phone.
And then they talk about their 2 foot long power cord that has 4 outlets. Like, what?
Right. I'll be like, look,
Swank.
27 outlets on this thing this big. Swank. I remember Swank.
Swank.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But getting back to the Epstein and Megyn Kelly defending, I thought this was interesting. I want to couch what I'm about to say. I honestly believe that when the Epstein Files are released, it's going to be boring. I think it's going to be almost like Al Capone's vault, where I think what the public expects is like a list of names and a list of ages. I think they expect a spreadsheet that says, ooh, Bill Clinton with Jody, who was 17, Donald Trump with Sarah, who was, I think they expect a list. I think it's going to be a bunch of flight logs. I think there'll be names. I don't think it's going to be as exciting as everyone says. That said, I do think it's fantastic. That said, I do believe there is something being hidden, because the sheer fact that Trump specifically called Lauren Boebert and brought her in for a meeting to try and convince her to take her name off the petition to have it released is pretty telling. And much as I don't like her, as much as I don't hate anyone, I appreciate the giving a hand job during Beetlejuice Lauren Boebert. I do not appreciate the politician Lauren Boebert, but I do love the fact that she stood her ground and left her name on.
And Marjorie Taylor Greene. Holy shit, man. She's been great on this.
She has been fantastic, better than Nancy Mace, even though Nancy kept her name on it as well. But either way, the law, I am curious to see it come out. I think it will be a big disappointment.
I do too, just because if you're powerful enough to get, you're a billionaire, you're in the intelligence community, like whatever you have that got you down there and, doing all this shady stuff with Epstein, you're powerful enough to get that either scrubbed from the Justice Department or like whatever, especially after 4 years, right? I mean, because they talk about this list as if the guy just had a list. You know what I mean? And it's like, well, no, you don't do that if you're a nefarious character. Back when I was like selling drugs as a kid, I wouldn't even say, hey, do you want weed on the phone? This was a misdemeanor, okay? I did not have written down somewhere, and then I sold half a pound of this guy. And then half a pound. I never had that fucking much. I was a little dirtbag. You know what I mean? And then I sold an eighth to this guy. And like, you don't do that. If this is like kid smuggling, I'm keeping that information up here. If I'm not keeping, then I sold a kid to this guy. And then I sold a kid. What kind of autistic, forgetful pedophile ring has to have it written down on paper? How sloppy of a pedophile do you think Epstein is to where you think he's writing all this shit down? So no, the actual list would be stuff that's being compiled from the Justice Department, you know? And if you're that rich and powerful to where you're dealing with all this, you're doing it in a way to where you're being very careful about not getting any of this stuff written down. Now, he was blackmailing people with this stuff. Yes. So there's probably that footage somewhere. There. Now, did that stuff have some kind of kill switch on it to where that's, if anything happens to this guy, it goes bye-bye, and the CIA, Mossad, MI6, whoever the fuck he was dealing with that close to the time he got arrested, does somebody else take over? Does that stuff go away? That to me would be more likely than it's just been sitting in the Pentagon or wherever.
In boxes.
Like
man. The end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, just, files of, and like I said, I think people believe it is a list of names with a bunch of ages of girls, and it's not going to be that.
It's going to be flight logs and stuff to where you can't really prove or disprove a whole. It's like, okay, he had some connection, but does it mean that he was doing stuff with kids? No, but it doesn't mean that he wasn't doing stuff with kids. There's probably going to be a lot of that, which is why a lot of that would be redacted. But it's also like, but unfortunately, you guys, the government, have proved that you're not trusted stewards of this information. If nothing else proves it, the fact that he got convicted for this stuff back in like 2007 or whatever, and you gave him a slap on the wrist. It was early 2000s, and he got like nothing. He got, it was like 6 months or something, and he could leave on weekends. It was crazy. It was. So it's like, okay, it is under normal circumstances, normal investigations, the right thing for the government to do would be keep the information back of the people that are just kind of involved in other monetary things or business stuff that aren't illegal. They're just kind of part of the investigation. We can't prove they didn't do anything. You would keep that back, but you've proved that you the government have proved that you're actively covering stuff up in terms of his clients on both sides of the aisle. Like I've said many times, the one thing that Trump and Biden are in total agreement on publicly is that Epstein acted alone, killed himself, but you don't need to see any of the information. That's a one bipartisan thing that both parties agree on.
Yeah. I mean, let's go back to some comments quick. We should evolve from the mentality there's grass in the field, play ball. It's disturbing with red age. Exactly. I mean, that's why, Nick Cage at 60 is dating a 24-year-old or whatever, or even when Leo at 50, it's just weird. And it's just weird. Rocky says the blackmail stuff he had will never be released because it is all video and photo form, I would think. Yeah. Could be, I don't think you just leave that shit laying around. If you're the CIA blackmailing people, you don't just leave that all willy-nilly where anyone can find it. But this, I don't know if you've been here since the beginning, I'll paint, but we're differentiating between someone that is a under 10-year-old and Don's probably definitely into 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds. He's guilty as shit. Democrats wish he's guilty as shit.
Well, I think, okay, see, here's the thing.
If there was a shred of evidence, no, it's all covered. This is what Jake was just talking about. It's covered for everybody. Like, there are business tycoons that are being protected. That has nothing to do with politics.
Because here's the thing. I don't think, and I've said this on here before too. I could be wrong. Maybe more will come out. There's definitely been more on Trump than I thought would be in there, just because I initially was like, there's no way Trump directly is going to be that implicated in this, just because otherwise he's not talking all that shit during the campaign. He's shutting that down the second anybody brings it up. He's not even entertaining it. He's just going to be like, this is nothing but unfounded rumors and lies and conspiracies and whatever. Like, that's what you would do if you were truly on the list. What I think happened is he looked at whatever files they had and was like, oh shit, these are people that I either owe favors to, because that is the president of the United States is systematically set up to be bribed in this country. It is a job that pays $500,000 a year, but it costs about $250 billion to get. So you do the math, it doesn't work out. They're systematically set up to be bribed, right? So I think there's people he owes favors to. I think there's people that he just kind of knows has dirt on him just because he's a shady white collar business guy, has been his whole life. And he's like, well, if this guy goes down, he kind of knows where the bodies are buried with a lot of the financial stuff I may or may have not done with him. So that's a problem. And then I think there's a third group to where he's like, oh my God, this man runs Raytheon. He can hire way better snipers than that incel in Butler. The man could snipe me from outer space. No one needs to know about this. And they're like, Mr. President, your own voters are going crazy. Fuck them. Let them go crazy. I'm not letting these come out. I think it's a combination of those three things.
Well, and I also bet he was down there fucking 20-year-olds or 22-year-olds or whatever.
Yeah.
That's all he does is cheat on his wives. That's all he does nonstop. You're saying he wasn't down there fucking hot women?
I mean, he's on his third trophy wife. Like, what do you expect out of this man?
He was down there. He was like, so I'm not saying he was down there doing 12-year-olds, but he was down there banging. And
we know that Epstein was heavily involved in intelligence organizations, especially in like the 80s and 90s and stuff, that whole Iran-Contra thing. That was how he made his money, was funneling money around the world to different organizations through intelligence agencies. So it wouldn't look like countries were directly funding certain things. And with stuff like that, I mean, you think those groups don't have any kind of influence over, keep this information quiet. They do. That could be another thing that was in the files, was he saw that deleted camera footage from Epstein's cell, and it was SEAL Team 6 choking a man to death with his own bed sheets, and then looking at the prison camera going, shh, before going through the roof on a fucking rope with a helicopter. And then it was out.
It was out. Richard just had a birthday. It was recent.
Oh, happy birthday, Richard.
Yeah. Yeah. Bill Belichick. Exactly. He's banging 20-year-olds. He also hang out with the Clinton. Exactly. We all know Clinton was banging women too. Like Clinton was a fucking hound dog cheating on Hillary. You don't get to that level with unless you're human garbage. Yes, that is true as well. That's true.
But see, here's the thing. Statistically, very few people that are actually into like kids, you know what I mean? But there's a lot of people that are into, you know what I mean? 18, 19, whatever. So I think a lot of the ways they were blackmailing people is like, hey man, you know that hot girl you just slept with? Yeah, she looks a little old for her age. She's 16. So unless you, and I got video of this. So unless you play ball on the spending package, you whatever, man, weapons of mass destruction are there. We're going in. Otherwise, this tape gets released along with a picture of her driver's license and birth certificate.
And the age aside, the age of the teenagers aside, what we're forgetting, because everybody's focusing on the pedophilia or the fact that Epstein himself was into young teens and inappropriate ages. Right. A lot of the girls were sex trafficked. It was like, hey, I want you to be a masseuse. Sure. Even at 19, it's like, hey, you give them now you're going to bang Prince Andrew.
Right.
Oh, now it's like
they did have that email that came out this week where Epstein's talking about, I gave my 20-year-old girlfriend to Trump. Like, gave him. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, they're kind of passing women around and, still shady shit, All
right. Staying on politics. Justice Department sues to block California U.S. House map in clash that could tip control of Congress. You have to appreciate the naked hypocrisy of this. Texas goes in and says, hey, we're just going to reconfigure the congressional districts to favor us. Fuck you. There's nothing you can do about it. California goes, I'm going to put a measure on a bill that the public gets to vote on. Dear public voters, do you want your government to do this? The public says yes. So then California says, okay, because you said we can do this, we will reconfigure as well. And the Justice Department goes, yeah, what Texas is doing against the will of the people, that's awesome. What California is doing, that's illegal. It's the naked hypocrisy is wonderful. You have to love it.
It's pretty wild, man. Yeah, I mean, I do like the idea of an independent commission that California had, unless you also have other massive states that aren't doing it that way. At a certain point, it turns into like, okay, well, if one side's going to gerrymander and the other side's going to do it fair, they're going to get fucked, and now they have to gerrymander. Like, look, man, I would like if the ref kept both fighters from throwing elbows, but if one dude starts throwing elbows and isn't getting called on it, well, I guess it's UFC rules now. bam. You know what I mean? Like I could either just eat raw fucking elbows in my eye while using the gloves on him, or I could start throwing elbows. So that's what they're going to do.
Well, but it's funny because it would be nice if it was an independent, but it's the U.S. We all know who has their thumb on the Justice Department, because the Justice Department didn't come out and say, hey, we're going to review Texas and California. It's literally, we're going to go after the one that put it to a vote, the will of the people.
Right. Yeah. It at least got voted on.
You might want to see a therapist, because you've got a lot going on in here. You seem very into Trump, and you're like, nobody's defending Bill Clinton. Gavin Newsom is a monster. Whatever you've got going on, maybe tune out of the Newsmax. No vertical elbows. Boom, up under the chin.
There you go. Right under the chin there. That's right. I only like sex criminals when they have a certain color tie on. Yeah, that's what I fucking hear. Jesus Christ, man.
But
the other side lied and covered up for kid diddlers. We should get to do it too.
Yeah, exactly. But Gavin Newsom, I like the pivot he's taking. I'm curious, since he was brought up, I'm curious as to how legitimate it is, because we're talking, he's a politician, and he has said and done some asinine things. And only now that is it coming to light that, oh, you know what? Maybe guys with a dick shouldn't be in women's sports. Is Gavin saying, yeah, maybe we should revisit this trans thing, even though, 2 years ago it was all pro, like, oh, everyone's the same, even if they went through puberty and at 18 have decided to go into college sports as a woman without any hormone therapy or any surgery. It's like,
I just can't believe how much coverage that's getting at a national level. Like, because do I think that you would have a competitive advantage if you were born a man, transitioned a woman, and you're playing in women's sports? Absolutely. That said, that feels like something that should be decided by the leagues. It shouldn't be dealt with at a federal level. Like, politicians shouldn't have anything to do with it.
High school, I can go either way. Like, it's funny for saying states' rights that they want to do it at a federal level, but when it comes to college, you and I have talked about this. I remember when it made the news. The head of the NCAA, spoke before Congress, and they kept hammering about trans stuff. And he said, "Okay, I deal with 500,000 athletes. Less than 11 of them are trans. We maybe have 11. Let's talk about the women that are being abused and sexually threatened." And they wanted to go back to trans. And like, this is not a big deal. This is such a small, amount of people. But at the same time, the idea that the left is catering to such a small amount, that was equally absurd, where they're like, we must fight for the rights of these, less than 1% of athletes. That, like, no, I mean, maybe life isn't fair, and you don't get to just pick and choose what gender sport you get to play on. Hey, sorry you were born in the wrong body, but you don't, both sides, instead of finding anything logical, just like to fight.
Yeah, man. I mean, I really don't like a lot of the anti-trans stuff coming from the right, but the area of women's sports is where it's like, yeah, man, there's a little bit of a medical nuance here that isn't really is kind of getting ignored by people that want to just
put a 350-pound offensive lineman into the women's powerlifting team. There you go.
Well, that's just it, man. Is you don't really see a ton of like trans men, you know what I mean, who are born women, then became men. Now they're in the NFL. Like you don't see the Leah Thomases going the other way. And there's a medical reason for that. Yeah,
but where did this start? I can't even remember why I brought it up. Oh, the Justice Department. With Gavin Newsom. Wow, this took a turn. We went from the.
That's it. I will say the people harping the most about trans women and women's sports. It's not about women's sports, and they do not want to stop it at women's sports. They just kind of don't like trans women.
Yeah, and yeah. All right. Nope, that's the one I just clicked on. Here, we have a follow-up to last week. Kentucky woman who posed as a mother needing help says TikTok challenge has been amazing. So last week we talked about the woman whose name we can't pronounce because she spells it like a fucking weirdo. Name your kids normal names, please, people. Just if it's Nicole, spell it Nicole. We talked about her last week. She
Nikalie. I think
yeah,
was how it was
Nikalie,
said.
Nick.
Yeah,
Whatever.
because it said that in the video. Yeah.
Either way, she called a bunch of churches. A lot of them hung up on her. They said 9% of the churches, so over 80% said no. But they're calling this guy Pawpaw, this grandpa, this elderly man who runs a service, said yes. And he's been interviewed. He said, look, here's the deal. I get a lot of these calls and a lot of them are fake and I say no a lot and I feel bad. This woman, just something about me, say yes. And because he said yes, he has received over $100,000 in donations.
Good.
He has gone on record and said, what you have to understand is every single penny of this money that's being donated will go to services. It's not going to be to add a wing onto the church or, buy me a new car or buy a new car for the church. He said every single penny donated is going to go into services. And that's why you do it. So I mentioned this last week where I'd seen one. At this point, I've seen five to 6 or 7 people. And I think they're just looking for attention. Maybe they are as stupid as they present themselves, but they're like, how dare this woman call these churches and lie to them? Completely missing the point that the fact that the church was like, fuck you and your baby.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I do like that she's showing churches that are kind of doing the right thing, because that was my thing when I first read it. I'm like, this feels super cherry picky and targeted, and it's like, hey man, I'm an atheist. I get annoyed with Christians and shit too, but come the fuck on, man. And I did talk to a guy who worked with a church charity years ago, because I briefly worked at a rental car place, and I was driving this guy, and he was telling me what he did, and it kind of made me look at the church stuff different, because we always hear about the shady, televangelists, the people like this lady's calling, who are just like, what? Fuck the poor. I believe in MAGA Christ. And the MAGA Christ saith, pick yourself up by your broke ass bootstraps, lady. Tell that baby to get a job. Click. And then that's kind of, it's for a bunch of Christians who worship this hippie guy. Man, they seem to hate the fucking poor on that side of the aisle. But this guy was saying, well, the reason that donating to a church, a good church that does the right thing, which, she thought a guy did, had to call a lot of them. But since it's not getting taxed, well, all the money, like this guy said, is going to help the people who need it, as opposed to, we, the government, are going to do it, but, a bunch is going to the Pentagon. A bunch is going to go to adding more gold to Trump's bathroom in the White House. You know what I mean? Like some of it's got to go to Israel.
I'll do you one better. I'm not trying to shit on this organization. I'm just using them as an example. The Red Cross. It's a great organization. At the exact same time, you see ads for the Red Cross on television, and those don't come free. So that means when you donate to the Red Cross, they're helping people. They're doing good. They also have overhead. They have
it's a big corporation. They have CEOs and shit. You know what I mean? You're paying like millions and millions of dollars to somebody every year. To many people. If it's done well, but that's a big if, because a lot of these churches are run by, kind of shady people. So
and so the people that were saying, how dare she call and lie? Have you never heard of a secret shopper, or even better, the show Undercover Boss? He was literally undercover bossing them. There's nothing wrong with that. And like you said, the fact that she is championing and rewarding the people are rewarding, the people are happy for the places that succeed, instead of like contacting and shaming the places that don't. You just got to ignore them and let them go away. You got to champion the good ones. Speaking of that, did you see the video that went viral this week of the woman crying?
Wait. Before we go to the video, I have an idea for a new reality show. You mentioned Undercover Boss, Undercover Congregation. You go in there with the real crying baby, or a fake one. You know what I mean? One of those fancy ones that they cost $1,000, like really looks real. You smear all kinds of soot and dirt on yourself, look all poor, and you try to get a free meal, see what they do. I got an even better one We get Michael Cera, one of these guys who kind of looks young, might look a little underage. Throw a white dress on him, undercover altar boy. Yeah, it's gonna be. We're gonna have Chris Hansen, and then he comes in. The fake altar boy who's over 18, really barely legal. Megyn Kelly, not fake, barely legal. Not what I mean. A few years less. We're going to have somebody who's 18, looks a little younger, with a body cam, and then as soon as that priest starts going, I'll tell you where the light of Christ is. Close your eyes and stick your hand in here, young man. And then we have Chris Hansen burst through the door because he's going to be dressed like a nun or whatever. Like he's going to have a different costume every time. He's the Pope this week, and then he bursts in, takes the bonnet off or whatever he's got, and then he's just like, "Hey, have a seat, Father. Sit down. What are you doing, this altar boy?"
I think that's I'm in. I'm in. Let's do that show. Let's do it. I'm 100% in. I was Googling on the side while you were talking at the end there because we got a comment, and my first search showed up pretty much nothing. There was like an article that said they did this. Now I'm waiting for something to fire, but it's locked up. Let's talk about as soon as this fires up. I'll get to it. Here we go. So we have our. Let me go back to the other window. No, come on. Let me pull the comment. Salvation Army is assisting illegals making their way to America. They're spelled wrong, but that's.
Yes, like MAGA Christ said on page 7. Let me see your papers. Get out of here. Throw that kid in a cage.
Again, this goes with the turn off the Fox News. So I did a quick. God damn it! I have two things open and I can't toggle back and forth easily. So short answer, no. What the search shows, they said. Criminal possible misunderstanding. So what happened? Someone confused the Salvation Army and charity work with smuggling, and then someone picked it up. Either Newsmax, faith-based organizations sometimes get blamed in public discourse for helping asylum seekers as smuggling. So there is no verifiable proof. It's literally one of those stories like, stop being angry. Stop being angry. Stop defending Trump. Stop bashing it. Either way. All right, we're out of time. I just want to the video that went viral this week, there's a woman, she's filming, she's in a lobby, she's filming a receptionist and an elderly woman, and the elderly woman is filming her in response. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do not know.
Okay, so the woman is disabled and homeless, and she was sleeping in her car in a parking lot, which happens to be a church, and she gets a sticker saying, "We're going to tow your car." And so she goes in and says, "Hey, I'm homeless. I just thought this church would be a safe place to sleep in my car." And they're like, "We're going to call the police." And she's like, "You don't have to call the police. I'll leave. I just wanted you to know this." And the elderly woman is just not saying it. She's sitting there with this look on her face like, and the woman, the woman that you hear her voice, she loses her emotions a little bit. She's like, fine, I'll leave. Turns out the old woman was the pastor. And so someone put together a clip of this old woman just sitting there filming. You're like, "I'm going to film you and make you go viral." And the other woman saying, "Film me. I'm not doing anything wrong." And they cut it with her on stage saying, "And blessed are the meek, and we should be open to all, and we should love for Jesus." And then they cut back to her just kicking this poor homeless woman out of her parking lot. And
dude, I love the Christian right in this fucking country. Such goddamn
great.
You people are a lot closer to the Romans that stabbed Jesus and put him up there, right? You have a lot more to do with them than the hippie that wanted to feed poor people and didn't believe in borders and stuff like that. It's you guys are the Romans that you people would nail Jesus to a fucking cross and accuse him of trying to turn your kids trans if he came back.
Yes, they would. Oh, it's a great video. Look it up. And especially if you can find the split one that I found, because I saw the original of this poor woman crying, saying, "I'm homeless. I just wanted to sleep in my car in a place I thought was safe." And then to see the split between the old woman just filming like, "Fuck you, get out of my church," combined with standing on stage and
I love
preaching. It's all right. I have been Nathan Timmel. You can find everything. Oh, quick, in the comments, if anybody's still there, do I sound different, better, worse this week since I went with the pods because I'm traveling as opposed to my microphone?
Sounds good to me, man. I didn't really notice the difference.
Good, because this is easier. for when I travel. Like I go when you catch me in hotel rooms, like maybe next week or the week after, I'm in a hotel room, so I might just bring these and leave my microphone because it's so big to lug around. And either way, I have been Nathan Timmel. You can find me at nathantimmel.com. T-shirts, books, all there. My friend is Jake Vevera, Vevera, and I spell his name because he doesn't have a website, so you have to @Vevera, Jake Vevera, to find him on all the social medias. And yeah, we will talk to you next week. Thanks for tuning in. And when I say thanks for tuning in, I even mean you, where is it? MAGA for life. I mean you. Thanks for tuning in, Isle Paint. We appreciate having a different point of view, even if we make fun of you. All right, we're out.
I stand with Megyn Kelly, 15 as old as fuck.